Right. So, pleasant good afternoon again. We have sort of been chatting for the last 5 minutes. Today, as I had mentioned at the top of the hour, is the second part of chapter 2, 2.2 to be exact. And this one goes into the contents of a policy, like the document itself, right? So remember, the policy, the policy is really a document. And we said this could have been signed and placed through the company, etc. Right? So we're going to go into that now anyway. So I'll take it from here that it is a legal requirement under the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. We have employers shall prepare a policy. It must be in writing if you have 5 or more employees, and it must be revised as necessary. The policy must state the organization and arrangement for bringing that same policy into effect. And once you have a policy, it must be brought to the attention of your employees. You cannot be in a company then, right? And the company has a policy for safety, but no one knows it, right? So if you have a policy and it's written, it must be brought to the attention of the employees, right? There's another law, legal requirement, the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulation 1999. Regulation 5 also say to have a policy, right? So Regulation 5 of that law said there must be arrangements for effective planning, organization, control, monitoring, and review of preventative and protective measures. Arrangements must be in writing for 5 or more employees, right?
Thank you.
So the general policy statement, aim, objective. Let me just read one slide and I'll come off the slide a bit. I want to do some explanation for you. So to provide adequate control of the health and safety risk arising from our work activities, to consult with our employees on matters. This is like what you'll find in the policy. To consult with our employees on matters affecting their health and safety,
This one.
to provide and maintain safe plants and equipment.
Yeah. You can lie down and you can watch.
Just remember to have your mics off when you come into the session, right? Let's see what's happening. All right. To ensure safe handling and use of substances, to provide information, instruction, and supervision for employees, and the policy document must be signed, right? So with that said, the key features and appropriate content of an organization health and safety policy. By the way, I have a nice video on this on YouTube. About 5 minutes long that wraps up this whole session, right? Yeah, 5 minutes long to wrap up this whole session, right? I don't know if I could find it. It's been some years anyway. I'll see if we can find it and send it to you all. But today you all are in the thick of it, so let's get into this. So what we want to do, right? The key features and appropriate contents of an occupation health and safety policy. I would want to sort of break it down for you, right? And to do that, we normally construct a chart. So I don't know if you have any writing paper around you. If you could, we gotta get a chart going, right? Like a flow diagram. Let me see what's that I can use. I guess we could probably use this slide, right? I'll write on this slide here as it has some space, right? But it's to show you the the contents of the policy. If you have the textbook, you may see what I'm going to show you here. Not in the same format though, right? I'm going to kind of break it down for you. But this, by the way, is supposed to be a straight line. Sorry, I looked away. I looked at the doorway. Let me just do that again, right? So if we could kind of have a chart going, we're going to just talk about the 3 pieces of the health and safety policy. And I reflect on the notes and I share what we are talking about, right? So just to kind of break it down for you, because other than that, it becomes just writing alone or words alone. So the HSE policy have 3 pieces. If you have your textbook, you can probably get to 2.2. And if you turn to 2.2, what you'll see that the policy have there are three sections of your policy. But if you want to take a look in the book and tell me if you're seeing that, what you're supposed to see is supposed to see the statement of intent. That was the heading we was on before. So the three pieces of the policy is called the statement of intent. Can you all check out the books? Just let me know what page you're seeing that on. I actually don't have your books on my table here. Right? So statement of
It's
intent.
on
It's on
page
page
12.
Very good. It's supposed to see the three words together. Right? The policy have three pieces, statement of intent. Could you finish that for me? Because I want to write something else there. The next thing is the organization. Thanks very much for the page. Organization. And I'll be asking you to look in your book, right? And to pull out some things for me. But it's very easy. If I do this, you would see you wouldn't really need the book. You see what I'm talking about, as usual. Most of this explanation is in you. Once you understand it, the answers come from you and not really the textbook. Because the book is really not the case study. Right? So there are three pieces of the policy. One is called the statement of intent. The other one is called the organization. And this word here should be arrangement, right? ARRANGEMENT. Right? I'm going to go back to my slides in a bit, but I want to show you how simple it is, right? So the policy have three pieces. I'm going to try to show you what I was talking about. So when they say the policy have three pieces, right? Like what does that really mean? So there are three pieces of the policy. What does that really mean? Right? Well, we need to go back and remember what the policy is. The policy is like a document, like what this guy holding in his hand here, right? I have some, if I can find them, I would show you one. So this is just like what they say the policy is then, right? Let me just see what this is. I don't have no idea what I take out here, but this is, okay. So this is actually our policy handbook. This is actually the school policy handbook, right? So it is a policy, right? SSI policy handbook. So the policy is really a folder. So that's what you see in the picture then. That's what I'm trying to show you here. The policy of anything then, right? So the HSE policy, in this case, the school policy is really like a folder, right? But what do they mean when they say there are three pieces to the policy? And we wrote it there. Statement of intent. If you look at your book, the next thing is organization. You will see it here on the heading as well. And when you go down, you see arrangement as well, right? So what does that mean? What does it mean that the policy have three pieces, right? So the simplest way to explain it here, right? The simplest way to explain it here is that when you open the policy, the HSE policy then of a company, there's going to be three subsections inside here. So when you say three pieces, that's what they mean, right? Like there are three parts. I think the book says there are three parts of the policy, right? So it's kind of like if this was, because this is my school policy handbook, but if this was an HSE policy, when you open it, the first thing you'll see then is like the table of contents, and then the next thing will be like the statement of intent. Right? And when you turn out those pages, by the way, that may be about two, 3 pages alone, right? The next thing you'll see is the organization. And the next thing you'll see is the arrangement. So when you say the policy, the HSE policy, have three parts. It's not three individual parts or three separate documents, but it's three headings inside here. Think you understand that a bit? If you want, you can take that down for simplicity's sake, so that you understand when they say the HSE policy have three parts, what they mean, right? They don't really mean it's three separate documents or it's three folders. It's one folder, but you have like three headings inside of the policy. Think you understand that a bit? And the first one, we're going to look at the first one, as that's the approach that the book looked at each one in turn. We're going to look at each one in turn and see what they mean. And if you understand what it is, right? And once we get that, well, we are finished there for today, right? Let's go to the first one, the statement of intent. So the statement of intent, there's supposed to be statement of intent, right? The statement of intent, what that section or what that part of the folder does it gives you the goals for health and safety, the goals, the aims, and the objectives, right? The goals of the company for health and safety, the aims, and the objectives for health and safety, the statement of intent. That part of the folder, when you open it, will have the goals, the aims, and the objectives. I put in slash objectives, right? So goals, aims, objectives. Take this down as well. So the first part of the policy folder would have the goals of the company, the aims of the company for health and safety, and the objectives. Let me just check out what mine is. So of course, this is not really, I mean, it's a school, but it's a safety school. So, but all policies should be the same thing. So the policy handbook, the first thing it has in it here, well, it's some policies, right? But we also have a student handbook, right? I don't know if I ever sent that to you all, right? But the goals then is actually in this same folder. The goal is, I can read the goal for you, right? The goal of the institute. Should just look at the table of contents, right? So the goal, I'm trying to find it for you. So the goal, well, for a company there, remember, we do have a HSE policy, but it's a division of the school there, the vision statement, right? So for a company, because it's HSE, that first part of the policy will have the goal of the company for health and safety, right? The goal of the school here, our vision is to be the leading tertiary education provider in occupation and health safety and the environment through innovation, quality, exceptional service delivery, and the attainment of a high success rate in all that we do. That's it for the school, right? For safety, I'll tell you, it will be like safety is our first priority. Safety is everybody's business. We covered that one last week, right? Oh, look, I got the policy handbook, right? It was right here. I'm so silly, right? So we have a policy handbook, right? Student handbook. And one of the first things you'll find in this is the same thing. You'll find the goal, right? So the first thing you find on the first page of every handbook, we're going to find things like the vision statement, right? The mission. So it's that now. Like, so I hope you understand when they say there are three parts of the policy, it's really different headings that you're seeing in the HSC handbook. Of course, this is the school handbook. If anybody want a copy of this, I could probably send this off to you, but we have soft copies of it. I'm not too sure if we ever give you all it. I probably, I know we used to photocopy it like it's a booklet anyway and give it to the students, but I guess at the pandemic, a lot of things have been more or less email anyway, right? But you're getting the point? Am I making the point clear that the policy, first of all, is real, it's not an imaginary folder. It's a real folder, right? And in the folder have different headings. The first heading you're going to come across will contain your goal. If it is a company, well, we don't really say goal, we say vision, mission, right? But for safety, they say, what's the goal of the company? What's the aim of the company? Tell me if you're getting it so far, and I'll move on. What say E?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Understood.
Okay, what about the rest of you all? Michelle have been
Yes,
here
sir.
before. Yeah, okay,
Understood.
good. All right, okay. So the only thing
Yes,
to
sir.
figure out now, let's kind of get one or two goals now. Let's try to get one or two goals, right? Because you read the school loan. Let's try to get one or two goals. Now, these are easy, right? These are easy because, well, why they're easy? Let me tell you why they're easy. They're easy because you can make up your own goal. As a company, you can make up your own goal for safety. Now, we did some last week too, right? But no one is preventing you from making up your own vision then, or your own goal, or your own aim. So there's really no wrong answer for this, right? So I'll give you one. I think I'll give you one last week. I'm going to go back to that same one. So a goal of a company could be to reduce accidents. You could write it, if you have writing paper, please write it better than this, right? To reduce accidents to zero, right? So your goal, the HSE goal, which is a good goal, to reduce accidents to zero. Let me give you another one. and I'll leave one for you to figure out. Anything could be your goal. Anything could be your goal, right? As I said in here, this is the page that they normally copy and laminate or put on a plaque. This is like what the event become the statement then, like you'll find it at the back of the receptionist if you enter most companies, you'll see we at DDL, we at Massey are committed to your health and safety, right? So let's go with something like that. Let's go with something easy, right? So we are committed to your health and safety. And let's put in H&S, right? So we are committed to your health and safety while you are at our premises, right? So health and safety, right? We're committed to your health and safety while, so anything could be your goal. There's really no shortage to it. And that's what I tell you, if you understand that, then you don't really need the book because you become the book. If you understand your goal is anything, as a company, if you want to do, I try not to tell you too much. I want you to tell me one or two, right? But whatever you want, right? So whatever you want, I'll put out here, your wants become your statement of intent. If I wanted to, the one I read, right, to have Shadrach Safety Institute to be the leading tertiary provider, is whatever you want. Whatever you want becomes your statement of intent. So could you give me one other? No, there's no big emphasis on this because I'll tell you why when I get the one, right? Let me get the one first. Could you give me like a statement you think a company may want to adopt? We have right now to reduce accident to zero. We have to protect the health and safety of all employees. What do you think is another thing they want to commit to? Anybody?
Developing safe working practices and ensuring continuity of training of employees.
That's about two there, right? So safe working practices. It do have a wrong answer, right? So safe working practices. If you could write, probably write it. The marker here is not the best, of course, right? So safe working practices, and Michelle also mentioned training, right? And I had some other voices there in between. So let's kind of get those. I'll take as much as I could fit on screen. It's not important that you fit them on screen because I'll tell you why more or less in a bit, right? Okay, training, somebody had another one as well? There was another voice, So with training, what you have to do, you have to say what type of training. The thing about your goals, right? The more you could define them. This is a message for life, right? The more you can define your goal, the better it is for you, right? So like if I say training in first aid, I just put in first aid, right? Training in first aid, well then you know what you have to do. It's not just training, but it's training in first aid, right? Training in first aid. Could I have another one? Because I know there was another voice, but I'm checking the chat and see what you all said, right?
I had said reduce environmental impact.
Very good, very good, very good. Yeah.
By adhering to industry standards or ISO standards, that type of thing.
Yeah. Very good. I'm actually doing an environmental course on Sundays. Very good, Nadine, as well. Nadine have a drug and alcohol free environment. That's perfect. I don't know if you also could you all write them down for me? Could you all write them down for me? Because it's not that important that you write it down. And I'll tell you why in a bit. Right? You'll be shocked to know. Right? Well, number one is that anything could be a goal, right? So alcohol free, drug free environment, very good. I really just needed 3, right? And we're up to 6 already, but it's not even important how much we get, right? So alcohol free environment and environmental free or environment free of environmental spills and hazards and stuff, right? So these are very good. Excellent there. And I'll check on the chat because I think one more went in the chat. But I'll tell you why it's not important. I'll tell you why it's not important in a bit. Let me just check on the chat for the last one. Ola Jones have a very good one to provide safe and effective work environment for both workers and visitors. Perfect, right? Really, really perfect stuff, right? All right, when you finish, well, I'll finish. I won't take any more. Well, I don't want to take any more. No offense to anybody. I'll tell you why now, right? So here the why, right? Here the why, and here why. Now, if you want, please look at your book. If you those of us with the book, I have mine on that side. I'm not even going for it because I think it's too easy, right? If you check your book, the page, the other page, if you said was it page 9 for you all? What page is statement of intent on?
12.
12. Okay, if you
12,
look at
chapter
page
2.
13, okay, if you look at page 13, then what you'll see they actually give you some, they actually have some goals and aims there. But it's not important either. You may wonder, what am I saying? Well, why is it not important? Right? Listen to why it's not important. NIBOSH is given. You don't have to make it up. NIBOSH will give you it. Right? I don't know if you so you want to write that down? In case, in other words, that remember, in today's day and age, in today means of questioning, there is no what is question. So they're not going to ask you what are 10 statements of intent. No, they're not going to do it. They will give you it. In today's day and age, what they ask you to do is comment on. So they will give you it and they will say comment on if it is being fulfilled. So I don't know if you want to write that down as a question one time. I've just told you the past paper for this part of the syllabus. I'll say it again. The book have some, the slide have 6. You could just make up anything. But none of that important because NIBOSH giving you it. They will give you 10. They will give you the 10. They will have company XYZ has committed to reduce accident to 0. But then they will ask you now, based on the case study, folks, you understand them? Did they really commit to 0 accidents? As you read the case study, you would see they had 2 accidents. So they'll ask you, so did you all get that? All right, and this is the main part for today. They'll ask you to comment on if the policy is being fulfilled. So in other words then, I don't know if you understand the question, they're asking you to compare what the 10 statements say with what you see in the case study. In other words, if they say they're going to do first aid training, but when you read the case study, they said, there was no first aider. That's the nature of an open book exam. Open book exams is not about what are, right? They are more or less like your interpretation, like you have to comment on like, it's a kind of thinking exam then. So it's not a what is exam or what are exam, right? So when you read the case study and you read the statement of intent that they will give you, right? For example, if they said that there was an environmental spill and this has been covered up, no one has been, like the manager said, don't mention it. But when you read the statement of intent, it said, we are committed to taking care of the environment. That's what they say, well, like that way they will say comment. So you have to comment and now say, in my opinion, I believe the statement of intent is not being fulfilled because it said the company is committed to 0 environmental spills. But as mentioned in the case study, and you quote the line, the manager has said, do not record the oil spill. That's your exam. Folks, you understand that? Here in this school, we just tell you, teacher and tell you, right? Anybody else will just teach you, but we have to reflect on the past paper. So that's why I said, you writing down 10 statement of intent is not important because NIBOSH giving it. If they giving it, right, then it's not important. It's not important that you remember 10. By the way, it's an open book exam. If they ask for 10, open the book, open my slides and write down 10. But I know they're not doing that. We know the verb today is comment. So they will give you it and then they ask you to compare it with the case studies like apples and oranges then, right? And that is your question. I'm not necessarily, that is your question, right? The only thing is that you all should have written it down, right? So anyway, that is it. Statement of intent is actually finished. That's a statement of intent is finished. So we can go on to the next heading in the policy. Please bear in mind again what I said, even though I have drawn it like this because the book said the policy consists of 3 parts. It's not 3 separate things. It's just like a heading. So as you open the policy, when you finish with the statement of intent, the next heading that you're going to see is the organization. Let's see what this one is all about. What I'll do, I'm going to try to clear the slide a bit, so the slide doesn't look too jumbled up. Hopefully you wrote some. I could probably leave about 2. I'll take out some of these, given the fact that they're giving us it anyway. If they're giving us this anyway, great, right? I've taken off objectives. I'll probably just leave the word goal. Let me take off this one and I'll leave just one here alone. If you have your chart going, very good, right? Here the other thing, right? Here the other thing, right? Policy questions not too famous, but it kind of popular, right? I told you last week, if you all remember, and hopefully you'll remember, if not the video there, but hopefully you make notes too, right? That in the first part of it, this is popular. You see this question here? When I stop, you'll see it. This is popular here. The benefits of a formal management system, that's popular. Right? And in what we're doing today, what I just did is the most popular thing. It doesn't have too much of questions on the organization. It doesn't have, I don't think it have a question on arrangement. I remember in one, right? But the one I remember is before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, they ask students what are 5 statements of intent, but not anymore. Because they see it's too easy, you could just Google it now. So they're asking you to think, comment on if you think what you see here is being implemented. This, by the way, is the most popular question in what we're doing today. And that's it in chapter 2 is finished. Because technically, it have no questions on organization. I can't remember a question on organization. I'll tell you what organization is just now. And arrangements, it may have two mark things here and there, but not a whole question on these parts of the policy, right? Let's go into this. Let's go into these two. Let's go to the organization piece. Let's see what this is all about. So the statement of intent is all about the goals of the company. Let me just grab back my marker again, right? So the organization section, this is about who in the company has the responsibility for health and safety. The organization is all about the what you want to do. The organization section is all about the who. Who has responsibility for health and safety, right? They normally refer to this as the roles and responsibility section. And I'll explain what that means just now. Let's try to take it on what it means first, right? Like, you know, the statement of intent was the goal. And the organization section is understood to be the roles and responsibility section. Roles and responsibilities. So that's what RES, right? Roles and responsibility section. RES, right? So the roles and responsibility section is the organization section. So let me tell you, when you finish, what does that really mean? Like when you open the document, like what does that really mean then? Roles and responsibility. What does it mean? Like what does the goal mean? The goal means, okay, you set your own goal, reduce accident to 0. What does role and responsibility mean? Right? Well, the answer is this. The answer is who. Normally, this part of the policy have an org chart. If you look at your book, you'll see that. You see like they have an org chart. And it will have in it the people who is to get certain things done. They have like the name of the person, if you ever see an org chart. So the organization really talks about the organization to getting the job done or getting the statement of intent done. Remember the policy, these are just headings in the same document, the policy document, right? So the roles and responsibility, if you want, you could write the word people. I'll just draw a stick figure here. The roles and the organization section have the people who are going to get the job done, who are going to get these things done, right? So like it would have in it the CEO, the role and responsibility of the CEO. That's what you find in that section of the policy. That's what the book says. If you find it in the book, you see the same thing, right? You can find it in the book and watch it a bit. You see the same thing. You see an org chart and they work down the way from CEO come down. So when you open that document, well, it's the same document. When you reach that part of the policy, then you say like an org chart, and then they'll say Frank Henry is the CEO. He's responsible for health and safety, right? You'll see the role of the HSE manager, right? Raj, just making up a name, right? Raj, the HSE manager. So it having the role of the persons included, if we can go down with this. I don't want to put all two because remember, again, this could be anybody in the organization, right? It could be HR, what's the role and function of HR? It will have the role of the employees. It have everybody in our org chart. Contractor, everybody. And what is their role for health and safety? Right? And that's the organization section. Tell me if you're okay with that. It's supposed to be employees, right? The role of the
Yes.
employees. Yeah. If you want, I could go back and my slide have it in. I would just, Mama just trying to break it down for you. If you go back, let's go back in my slide, you'll see it. I have it right here, you know. Watch it, the organization, right? This section details the role and responsibilities of those persons who will assist the employer to plan, organize, control, monitor, and review the organization preventative and protective measures, right? Define the key responsibilities at all levels and their duties and responsibility for health and safety. And then I went into different persons, then like the role of the director, right? But remember, they weren't asking what is, right? They're not asking you, so you don't have to really learn this slide, right? They could ask you to comment on if the director was effective, in which case you could read the case study and say, it could be they said the director spoke to the workers gently. The directors said that he's going to support the management team and the HSE. So you say, yeah, you say, in my opinion, the director has shown his commitment to health and safety, and he can quote the lines, right? But I mean, just for what it is, in terms of the notes, then the organization section have like an org chart, and it have a listing of those people in it: directors, HSE advisors, health and safety representatives, watch it here, line managers, right? The role of line managers, employees, what is the role of an employee? Responsible for taking care of yourself and that of others. What's the role of a fire marshal? What's the role of a first aider? What's the role of a supervisor? Right? So that's what when you reach that part of the folder, that's what you'll find. All right, a lot of persons. I wonder if this girl in our class. Yes, I think she's in our class. What happened again today? We have a simultaneous class running now, but so some people kind of log in the wrong platform anyway, right? So what's the role of a first aider responsible for administering first aid? Me was not going to answer that. They're not going to answer that, right? Again, they may say comment on the role of the manager. And if the case study said the manager did not see the importance of a first aider, well, then that's what you have to say. You have to say, in my opinion, the role of the manager is not effective in that he didn't see the value of a first aider. So your question is more like a thinking question, right? It doesn't understand the concept, right? The policy of 3 pieces. First piece is the goal, statement of intent. The second piece have the organization chart and everybody listed in it. But remember, they're not really asking you that. They're asking you to comment on the role of the supervisor. So responsible for checking the day-to-day compliance with the policies. If you read the case study and it said, yes, the supervisor made sure everybody understood the policy. The supervisor went around and spoke to the new employee. Well, then you can say, in my opinion, the role of the supervisor was fulfilled and was effective in that he spoke to the employees and he went around personally to meet the new employee. So easy your question is. Your question is not a what is question, but it's not hard at the same time. It's not what are the people in the org chart. It's not what are the roles of the manager and director. No, it's not that. It's the comment on if these people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. If you're okay with that, folks, we're on the last page already. I tell you today we wanted to look at our past paper, right? And because the work was that simple. If you have your book, just take a look at it. You'll see the same, you see the org chart there. If you could tell me the page, you'll see the role of the CEO. But remember, there's no what is question. So don't go and learn the wrong thing. It's an open book exam. If you had to be asked what is the role of the manager, just Google it. But I know they're not going to give you that. They're going to ask you to comment on, is the manager effective in his duties based on the case study? Tell me if you're okay with this. We almost finished the theory for today. It's 20 to 2. We'll wrap up by 2 o'clock, but I have a past paper waiting for you now. And I did mention that to you last week. I also will mention it in chapter 4. Chapter 4 is just as short as chapter 2. Yes, NEBOSH is actually not long and is actually not hard if you do what we tell you to do. If you do your own thing, and you don't quote from the case scenario, you don't tie in and stuff, and you wouldn't pass. But if you do what you're supposed to do, you pass with flying colors. It's easier to pass NEBOSH now than it was before the pandemic. It's an open book exam, of course, right? But once you know the technique, you would go ahead to pass. What you all think of the organization section, and are you all putting in your mind, like I said, it is just another part of the same folder. Don't let the 3 things fool you. Remember, the 3 things is just one thing. The policy have 3 sections in it. The first, as you open it, you're going to get a statement of intent. Next thing, the org chart and everybody listed there. And the last thing is the arrangement. Now, tell me what you think, if you're understanding, folks. 19 of you all here, so let's hear what you're thinking.
Yes, sir.
And-
So far, so
okay.
good.
Good. And the truth is, none of this theory, well, the theory is being tested but in a deeper way. But it's not like if they're asking you what are the 3 pieces of the policy. So that's the thing, though. That's the thing about tertiary education. Tertiary education is a bit deeper than secondary school, right? Secondary school may have said, draw and label the digestive system. And that's secondary school. You get full marks for that. But you're not getting no marks to draw and label, nothing. Right? It's all about here. And in a way, that's a good thing. Because once you could think a little bit, you can pass this exam, right? All right, last piece, arrangements time. I may need to clear something. Let me see what I'll clear. I think I'll clear these people down here because you have it in the notes. If you think you wanted to see it again, let me just change the mark. If you wanted to see them again, you can just go back up in the notes right here. You can check your books too, but I have them here. What's the role of the employee? What's the role of the first aider? What's the role of the supervisor? What's the role of the manager and director? But they are no what is question, right? It's ready to comment on. That's a nice question, and a comment on the role of the line manager. And then in the case study, you'll see what the line manager doing. Was he, meeting the workers and ensuring they knew what they had to do, or was he shouting at them? And based on that, you comment, right? If it's in the first case, you say, in my opinion, the line manager is effective. He is meeting with employees. And if it's not, then you say, no, you say, in my opinion, the line manager is not effective. Instead of having proper communication, he was seen shouting at the employees. By the way, in 20 minutes time, we're going to take a look at a case study. So you'll see one coming up in a bit, right? All right, I'm taking this off. I was just saying, in case you miss your notes, which a lot of people, when they come to tertiary, they still have to adjust to how we learn at the tertiary level, right? But it's here for you in case you want to read it. It's here for you. Just know what I'm telling you, how the question come in is different. It's more like an application question rather than a what is question, right? Let me try to clear some of this now. You see how nice chapter 2 is? Chapter 3, just nice. Chapter 3, nice like this too. Chapter 3 is easy going. Just chapter 3 is kind of long. It have 8 elements in chapter 3. But chapter 4, short just like chapter 2. And by the way, when you finish chapter 4, That's the end of your course, right? I'll even the CEO, let me take off the stick figure and I'll take off responsibility. I can leave the word rules for you, right? I'll try to fit what I could fit on that side there. I don't know if you all could have done something for me, but it may keep me back. So let me just try to, I could ask you to see if you can do it fast. Can anybody read for me? Where you have organization, if you could read maybe those first 2 lines for me or first 3 lines, can anybody read that for me? There's a reason I'm asking you to read it, and I'll tell you when you finish reading it. If anybody could find where organization started in your book and just read probably the first, it wouldn't be 4 lines. It shouldn't be 4 lines. If you can read the first piece of it for me and read it for the class, I mean then. So if it's taking long, I'll
The
move on. It's just,
organizational roles and responsibilities, that
yeah,
on
yeah, you
page
can read that for me.
14.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. This section of health and safety policy deals with people and their operational duties in relation to health and safety. It outlines the chain of command for health and safety management and identifies the roles and responsibilities of the staff.
Step
It is
right there.
common
Okay, good.
practice.
Okay, good, Michelle. Very good. So what I wanted you to read, I wanted you to see was the same thing I was telling you now. So did you see roles and responsibilities? Yeah. So those of us, I know there are some people, excellent Michelle. Michelle is of course a teacher as well. For those of us who like to highlight our textbooks, you could highlight that rules and responsibilities. And if you had gone back, but don't do this now. I mean, you could do this for yourself. If you go back and you read statement of intent, you'll see it says goals, aims, and objectives. I'm just saying this for those who love their textbook and can't separate themselves from it and they want to see the words in your book, it's there too, right? Okay, let me go to arrangement and I'll have somebody read it first as well. But if I'm not first, I'll have you read it second. So let me tell you what it is first. So when you reach this part of the, I'm seeing it. Okay, good. When you reach this part of the policy document, remember we said the policy is a folder. When you reach this part of the policy, right? Remember, let me go back. The policy is that green thing I had, that green folder. So it's a folder you have in your hand. When you reach the arrangement part, well, what do you see? So what they say, what you would see in the arrangement part of the folder, and my marker is running away. Let me just try to get back my marker, right? What you would see is the policies or the procedures, right? You'll see the procedures for getting the job done, like the various procedures of the company. So arrangements is really procedures. When they say arrangements, they really mean procedures. I'll give you some just now, right? Let me just finish right on the word. So the statement of intent is the goal. The organization is the who have to get the thing done. And the arrangement is the procedures the company have. So if you want, I'll just give you about 3 here because again, you're not really going to ask you this. But you should keep in mind that there's a procedure for doing everything. So like the person that mentioned drug and alcohol, will there be a procedure for drug and alcohol testing? Right? I just put drug testing here. Right? So if they want to do drug testing, there'll be a procedure for that, right? They'll have to get 3 quotations. They may have to inform you beforehand that, we have a drug test, or they probably don't inform you if it's random drug testing, but there'll be a drug testing procedure, right? In a company, one of the things you cannot do is do your own thing, unless if it's your company. But still, even if it's your company is governed by procedures then, right? So you cannot just do your own thing. There's a procedure. If you want a day off, there's a procedure for a day off, right? And if we come back to some of the bigger examples we had here, like reduce an accident to 0, there may be a procedure for that. There may be some kind of accident investigation procedure, right? So when you reach this part of the folder, you're going to come across the procedures for getting the job done, right? I'm trying to think of some easy ones for you all. Well, let me think of a really nice one. I'll think of a nice one for you. This is accident procedure, right? procedure. So like an emergency, if the alarm was to go off, you cannot just run where you want to run. There's a procedure that would probably say walk calmly and quietly get down to your muster points. Everything has a procedure, right? The drug and testing procedure, drug and alcohol testing procedure, the emergency procedure. So that is what you're going to find in this part of the policy document, right? The procedures of the company. And that's it, because I can go back to my slide and I'll show you some that I have. And I'll also tell you or repeat to you that there have been no questions on arrangements for the last 5 years. This was a nice question before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, they would ask students, remember before the pandemic, the exam was written, was memory-based then. So very popular, they'll ask them, what was 8, right? So what are 8 arrangements for health and safety? Yes, back then the past, the questions are out of 8 marks. Strange. 8 marks, right? Now it's out of 15 and 20 marks, I think. But you see, it's open book. That's why they kind of open it up now. Bigger marks, easier to get. The hardest thing for you all to do is tie it back with a scenario, right? Okay, so I want somebody to read for me now. If you have your book, maybe somebody else. But Michelle was reading very good. So maybe Michelle, if nobody takes it up again. And just read for me the first line under arrangement. And you'll see it's the same thing that I just told you. And again, this is for those of us who want to highlight our textbook. Right? I know I make a habit of using the book because you have a book. But that doesn't mean the book is all then. You are all. You are the source of information. If you understand arrangement is just procedures, but you could just make up a procedure. Procedure for drug testing, procedure for smoking, procedure for returning to work, procedure for risk assessment, procedure for first aid, procedure for environmental spill. Everything have a procedure. The only thing is, they're not going to ask it like that. They're not going to ask you what is 8 procedures again. So that's why I said this latter part of this thing didn't have much question. Could somebody read for me just the first, I think it's the first line of arrangements in your textbook, and you'll see it's the same thing.
So you want me to read again?
Yeah, sure. You read beautifully. So yes, you could read again, yeah.
The arrangement section is often the largest section of the policy. Arrangements really means procedures. So this section deals with the general arrangements that exist to manage health and safety and the specific arrangements that are necessary to deal with particular risks relevant to the organization and its activities.
Okay, good. Well, I think you read it before. I think they said that arrangements really mean procedures, and that's it. So you could just, anything in life have a procedure. Like I said, your uniform, the PPE procedure, right? So that's too easy. That's why they're not asking you what are 10 procedures. It's too easy, right? So with this done, I just have one more thing to do for you. And those of us with the book, if you reach procedures, I want you to turn the page. And what you'll realize the chapter finish. If you turn the page after procedure, what you'll see is review. And then chapter 2 is finished. So look at that. We all started in May, right? The end of May, there, June, July, and we halfway through the course. NEBOSH is not hard, but they mark it hard. They don't really mark it hard. Let me rephrase that. They mark it 1 mark. You know that. They mark 1 mark. Everything is 1 mark. You want to get 60, I get 60 things correct. You want to get 70, I get 70 things correct. Everything is 1 mark, right? It's not 10 marks then for like 1 page. That's like primary school or secondary school. You write 1 page, the teacher put 20 out of 20, right? Not for NEBOSH, right? You kind of have to sectionalize your answer. If something is 10 marks, it's 10 individual points tied into the case study, and you'll pass the exam, right? So the last thing to tell you, I'll just take it from the slide. Let me just go back and show you what I have. I had arrangements here as well. I'm actually giving myself double work, but I do that because I want you all to understand how simple it is, because I could have read the slides for you, but if you have this chart should create a visual in your mind. Like the policy have 3 parts, and every part, it have like a different set of information. The first part would have the statement of intent, the goals of the company. When you finish turn those pages in the policy itself, you'll see the org chart and those who have the responsibilities there for health and safety. And you finish that, you're going to see the arrangement section which have the procedures for getting the job done in the company, right? Other than that, this thing itself is not going to be tested. What will be tested, I tell you, is like how effective are the managers, comment on if the goals are really being achieved by comparing it with the case study. Those are the kind of questions you get. And if you know the questions, well, then you should be prepared for the exam, right? So let me go back up here. I do have it here as well. So the arrangements here. So this section deals with the company's preventative and protective measures, usually in the form of procedures for achieving the stated aims in the statement of intent, right? And I have a bunch of them here. If I could clean the slide, I think we finished, right? I could clean the slide or leave it still. We have procedures for safe system of work, procedures for consultation, procedures for evacuation. You get the drift, right? Everything is here. Procedures for dealing with an accident, procedures for material handling, procedures for anything about procedure, right? So, we could finish that there. So the last thing is when do you review the policy? So this document, or mine, I show you notice mine, right? I show you saw mine, 2021 to 2024. This is student handbook, right? So these things have like a shelf life then. It have like a document control. You would see years of retention. We have like a document list, if you could notice that. The same thing in the companies too. Their policy will come to an end. Like every year they have to review it, right? Otherwise it wouldn't be, it had to be updated. And like this can't be 10 years old. My school policy cannot be 10 years old. The school is about 15 years now, but you had to update it thing then, 2021 to 2024. So then this have to be updated and produced again for the next 3 years anyway, right? So the point is, your good documents, even though you may be around longer than that, it cannot be 15 years old. It had to be updated then, right? So when you review your policy, they say when it's time. In some companies, it's annually. In some companies, it's every 3 years, right? You review your policy if there are any technological changes, any organized. If you want, I can explain some of these. Let me read it all first. Any organizational changes. Maybe the results of an audit said that you wasn't doing what like good as you thought that you were doing. If there's a change in key personnel, if there's enforcement action from the HSE, right? And this is like one of the questions some long time. Well, long time now is 2019, before the pandemic. This is how the question used to come long time. This is not you, so don't just ignore this for you. This is not you. This is how it was before. Right? Identify the information that should be contained in the arrangement section of the HSE policy. All the students had to do was remember it. But remembering was hard enough. Before the pandemic, it was all memory-based exam, but now it's more thinking-based exam. Right? All right, back to this. I was telling you, if you want me to explain something, like what do they mean by organizational change? Well, from time to time, right? Things may happen. People may leave your company. This CEO may actually be employed somewhere else. So what they're saying is that if something changed, what you do, when you review whenever you have a change, technological change, legal change, right? So if by chance you have your nice org chart and somebody leaves the org chart, Frank leaves, Frank is the CEO. Well, his name shouldn't be there anymore. So we need to review the policy and take him out of that, right? Some people review it, like I said, if they got a fine from OSHA or something like that, they may say, okay, we need to do better then, right? So they may write in another goal. And if you're writing in another goal, that means you have to update the policy. So whenever you have a change in time, if it's the end of the year, you review your whole policy, change in technology, people, material, even maybe something here, right? Maybe the where your muster point was at, the managers decided to turn that into a warehouse. So you have to change the muster point, right? The muster point is now somewhere else. But in the document, in the policy, it said, workers that make their way calmly and quietly down the stairs next to the security booth. But next to the security booth now is a warehouse. It's not an empty area anymore. So if something changed, but you have to update it, rewrite it, and change it in the arrangement section. So do you all understand that? And if that is done, well, chapter 2 is actually finished there. I'm going to take off all the diagram unless if I wanted to stay because we want to look at a past paper now. Right? Anybody writing anything down? Tell me if you have any questions. The 3 headings in the policy folder. That's the best way to think of this. These headings do get too much of questions now, though. But NIBOSH is free to make their own questions. Right? Remember, I am not really predicting. I'm just basing it on past trends anyway. Right? Past trends is not, a representation of the future, but in most cases, it is a trend. That's all we could do anyway, right? Okay, you all didn't say anything, so I've taken off everything. Let's take a look. So look at that, folks. Chapter 2 finished. Next week is chapter 3. Right? Which is good. I would say these things are good. You know why it's good? It's good because, you want the qualification. Right? Look, this week, let me show you something, right? Yeah, this week I normally collect jobs. We have like a job for I have years of these things, right? When I mean years, I could show you what I mean by years. I have years of job vacancies and HSE officer vacancy. By the way, I've done this in Guyana as well. This is actually Caribbean Airlines. Caribbean Airlines. Right? And when we watch here, we see Caribbean Airlines. I'm reading it out here for you. So watch it, huh? Qualifications. I'm going to read first and then show you. Caribbean Airlines, right? You must have a national examination board for occupationals. It's not for, right? It's actually in. The people who write this don't know what they're writing. But we get the idea, right? In occupational safety and health, NIBOS certificate. Watch it there. Right? Qualification. You must have, NIBOS. And next one, career opportunity. I'm not too sure who this is from. They want a bachelor's degree in this one. Bachelor's degree, right? Next one. That's just this week alone, you know. This is YTEP. YTEP is high in a health and safety and environmental officer. NIBOSH is what they look. When you have NIBOSH level 1, there's no such thing, right? So some of the people who write these things don't know what they're doing, right? And they should just probably call me and find out. There's no NIBOSH level 1 general certificate. It does not exist. NIBOSH does not have level 1 is like CXC, right? I sometimes, if I have none to do, I normally call them and correct them, but I have things to do, right? So the point is here, folks, and I'm sure there are more. This is just some. Look, another one. I don't know who this is. Okay, HSE officer. I'll show it again just now. Let me see who it is, right? Total Convenience Management Caribbean Limited. I don't know who that is, but I guess you probably see there, right? I don't think you can see Caribbean Limited. Total, is it Total you see? Total, Convenience Management. What are you looking here for? Certificate in Safety Management, NIBOSH, right? So why did I show you the job folder? I was telling you, hey, we finished chapter 2, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, right? The course is not, there is the degree level to this, right? We'll be happy to have some of you all in it next year, right? I don't know if anybody will be able to come in this year. The next intake is in September, and your exam may be around that same time. However, we don't turn away our students, but we don't have space for everybody. Remember, right now, we are the only provider for this in the region. Right? So we have students from my school, we have students from other places, we have students from other colleges, Guyana, Grenada. And I don't take 100 students then, I just take like one class of students anyway. Right? So the idea of telling you we are in chapter 2 is that, yeah, there are jobs, there are vacancies out there, and the faster you finish and you get this, the faster you can apply for some of these jobs anyway. I'm going to just put this folder back. All right. At least you all see what you're doing is in demand. Imagine if you was doing something that it was not in demand, then it wouldn't be worth it, would it? Imagine if you was doing a course, and when you watch the vacancies, you're not seeing what you're doing in it. Then what is the sense in you doing that course? But Nibosh is not like that, right? Nibosh is the #1 brand as, I mean, this is Trinidad, and I know I have Guyanese here, and I did that in Guyana too. But look where Trinidad is. Trinidad is the lowest of the Caribbean islands, right? We are so far from England. Addis Guyana is part of a continent. Addis Guyana is something bigger. Trinidad is just like a little drop in, in the state or in the landmass of Guyana. But even here on this small island, Nibosh is being asked for. It's being asked for in Grenada too. I have students there. I know I told you these things, but some of you all don't listen. I could show you my Grenada students right now. I'm going to be going to Grenada next month. I'm going to Grenada next month. I won't show you all of them. I don't know who I could find on my phone, I'm going to Grenada next month to do a training, right? The amount of people message your phone, right? But by Grenadian student, we were chatting, right? Anyway, I shouldn't show you anybody face and name and thing like that, right? For confidential reasons anyway, right? But we have students in London too, right? We have students in the UK too. Don't shout out everybody all the days, but we have students there as well, right? So folks, if the world is looking for Nibosh and you're looking for it too, then don't get scared, right? A short time again, you'll be writing the exam and getting the qualification, right? And that's what you're about. I mean, you're about to get it and sort of, better yourself anyway, right? All right, folks, let's take a look at this paper here quickly. So this is, first of all, tell me if you can see it. Can you see the paper in the background? It should be saying Nibosh Management of Health and Safety. Yeah?
No.
No?
sir, I'm not seeing that.
Okay, so what are you all seeing in your background?
So we see in the last slide that says next session,
PowerPoint.
promoting a positive
Okay,
health and
it's a
safety
good thing I
culture.
asked. Yeah, okay, try and see now if you've seen it. The Management of Health and Safety. Yeah?
But sir, it's still
Yeah,
on
not yet.
next session.
Really? Just now, something seemed to have happened. Let me see. Screen sharing is paused. Let me just stop the share a bit. And I'll put it back on, right? So that we can see it. Tell me if you've seen it now, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, good. So I think, right, this is May paper, which not too far away, right? May, this is July. This is May paper. So watch with me, right? Watch with me now. I want to do a questionnaire, so I don't want to waste too much of time, right? So watch with me quickly. So the past paper has a case study. All of them are the same, about 2 pages long, 1, 2. We're going to go into that now. And you have about 7 or 8 questions, right? There's a question on audit there. There's a question on management of risk there. Individual factors, management of near misses, procedural controls, policy implementation, employee responsibilities, benefit of worker involvement. Oh, they had 9 questions, boy, learning lessons from adverse events. That is not the norm, right? Nine is kind of odd. This is sometimes get 7 or 8 questions, but it's important to look at how much questions you have to do because that tells you how long your day is going to be now. Right? Anyway, the one we saw that we could do number 7, we could do that. We could do all of this in them. But the one we obviously saw is this one here, policy implementation. Right? I don't know if you want to in the week I'm gonna give you this to do, right? Tonight. After you all have another class again, so it doesn't end for me right now then, right? Tonight, and if not tonight, if I don't get the time because I have to upload all these videos tonight, if I don't get the time Monday morning, I'll try to issue this homework for you, right? So I'll give you this question to do number 6 in May 2024. I'll try to assign this for you for the assignment. Let's have a read of it, right? Policy implementation. So the revised general policy for Northern Mills read as follows. To the best of our ability, we commit to preventing accidents, near misses, injury and ill health, investigating accidents
the Spanish Negro.
and near
Right, and the
misses.
reason for these 2 herbs in my
Provided-
corner is one
Okay, somebody
helps
else.
to cleanse the liver, and the other one helps to cleanse the kidney and the bladder. So I always have these 2.
Right. I think I lost my point. Okay, so investigating accidents and near misses, providing safe and healthy working conditions, providing safe plant and equipment, setting and reviewing health and safety objectives, identifying health and safety hazards and risks in the workplace, providing adequate training, providing health and safety information to workers, involving workers, the provision of resources required to make this policy and arrangement effective, right? So folks, did you all remember what I said? Did you have to remember the policy for yourself, or was NIBOSH going to give you it? What they did here, they give you the 10 of them. How much it have? About 10, right? And then him count them 1, 2. This is the first time I'm doing this question, by the way. Yeah, it looks like 10, right? So they give you it. So that's all telling out. But like when we was on it, this is what part of the policy is this? It actually on the question. This is what? Of the 3 pieces, what part of the policy is this? Look at there. What part of the policy is this called?
So this will be the statement of intent.
Right, statement of intent, right? So it's not as if you had to remember it. And we had gotten 6, and I said it didn't matter. Now, this may be the first time I'm doing this question, but it's not the first time I'm doing a question like this. They have had plenty of questions like this. I could think of 3. So this makes it 4. There are about 4 questions like this during the pandemic, right? So let's see what the question says now. To what extent has this policy been implemented over the past 6 months? So you have to say, right? Your answers must be based on the scenario only. We see 16 marks, so we have to give them 16 answers. We see 16 marks, so we have to give them 16 answers. Otherwise, you wouldn't get 16 marks. But if you have 10 points, how could you get 16 marks? Anybody could answer that question. We did something like this already. I'd asked a question like that already to you all, and you all got it correct. If you see 10
You have
points
to
here,
double up on the points.
you have to double up on some of them. Yeah, like you see this one here, watch this one, right? Preventing accidents, near misses. So that could be something else, injury and ill health. Like you have to find, it may have 2 instances there, right? So let's go and see, let's see. Now here what I would do, right? And I want you all to, I don't know if you want to take some notes here. Here what I would do. Well, when I mean, because I am doing it now, I'm doing probably 2 answers now. It's 10 past, it's about 8 minutes past 2, right? I'll try to get 2, 3 done now, right? But when I give it for homework, if it's not tonight, remember I'm busy as well. I have a class after you all I have, right? Then tomorrow I have classes as well. So if it's Monday, I send this for you. Whenever you're doing it, what I would do, or how I would have approached the question, I'll take them one by one. I'll start up here. I'll start with this one. I'll take them one by one. And I would just, it's like measuring apples and oranges then. So I would take the point of preventing accidents, and I'll go into the case study and see what was actually being done. So I would say, like, I would say something like, in my opinion, the policy of preventing accident has been effectively implemented. I'm just making that up. Or it has not been effectively implemented, because what they want is your opinion. To what extent? To what extent? Meaning it could be good that they didn't meet it, or they could be bad that they didn't meet it. All they want to hear is your views. All they want to hear is your views on what is happening, right? So I would say, in my opinion, the policy statement of preventing accident has been effectively implemented over the past 6 months. Full stop. And then I'll just quote something from the case study that said that. This is seen where the managing director did investigate the accident or something like that, right? So based on the time though, let me just look at some others, if I could just watch some others, because as we go into the case study, is like going into a haystack now. That's why I always say, if you could, print the paper. It's like, you see what I'm going to do, try to find it by scrolling up and scrolling down. That is be kind of difficult. Let me just take some other things in my mind as we go in up there, because we may see some other things, right? They had something about investigating accidents. Let's keep that in mind. There was preventing accidents, but there was investigating accidents too. There's providing safe and healthy working conditions. There's providing safe plant and equipment. So a good idea is to print this in your hand, and then you go up in the case study with it. You print this in a paper. I don't know if you want to take a screenshot of it. I think I'll do that. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this. So when I go into the case study, I don't have to keep coming back down then to see what was the statements of intent. I'm taking a screenshot of it, right? So when I go up in the case study, right, I see things like involving workers, where we see that was really done. If it was done, then we say, in my opinion, the policy statement of involving workers was done, was effectively implemented. They say has been implemented, right? So we say, yes, it has been implemented. And this is seen where the managing director spoke to the workers. And if we didn't see it, we say the same thing. In my opinion, the policy statement of involving workers has not been effectively implemented. This is seen where the manager was shouting at the workers. I don't know, because this is the first time I'm going to read this case study, right? Did you all take a screenshot of it? That's a nice technique. A nice technique if you do have a printer. Otherwise, you find yourself, doing like a phalanx, moving to the left, moving to the right, moving to the left, moving to the right. And that's good for carnival, but it mightn't be good for exam. Okay, I'm going up in the case study right now. Folks, you understanding? Just tell me if anybody have any question on the technique. I'll repeat the technique. The technique is, I will start with the first one and try to come my way down. Right? If I find something, I'll just kind of link it one time, because the 16 answers I want, how could I get 16 from 10? You're going to have to double up on some of them. You have to find more than one example then on some of them. Otherwise, you'll never get 16 marks. Right? Talk to me a bit. Are you all understanding? Yes. Because this is the end, There's the end of chapter. You don't have to come back and teach it, Haven't taught it. The last thing is to link up as and that's it. We done. Right? Next thing is chapter 3, chapter 4, and then you pass your exam and you get your certificate in your hand. Right? All right. I'm watching the time too. Yeah, what I'll read it up. You see, the case study have some headings, right? So we could kind of try to get to the heading and see like what happened with the accident then. Right? You see the near miss incident, we can see what's happening with it. It's not a very long case study, is it? But I might not have time to read all of it. Let's read the top of it so we see what's going on. And we can see if we can find anything that said that they were doing what they have here, or they were not doing it, anyway. So let's see the organization. Northern Mill is an organization that manufactures a range of cloth, textiles for national and international customers. They have a large factory that produces textile made from a range of fibers. The owner of Northern Mills runs the factory and employs 50 people. So not too big of a factory, right? Oh, there are 30 factory workers and 4 factory supervisors all work in a range of shifts throughout the week. The rest of the workforce carry out administrative function. At the building entrance is a reception area. Along a corridor leading from the reception area, there are doors to the factory floor. These doors have no unauthorized access signs on them, which is good. There are also stairs to the upper floor where there are offices for the administrative teams and the owner. There are also private meeting rooms for use when customers and visitors are on site, a large kitchen and break room and toilets, right? Okay, so nothing there. Nothing there. Remember, as I tell you, you could use, there's a technique I call fishing. Fishing just means you kind of zone down on the question, right? So I'm still looking for this. I'm still looking for things like that. That first thing didn't help me, right? So here what I'll do, I will try to zone down on something, right? And this is what I'll tell you, the day for the exam, a technique is buy a printer, if you could, right? And print the paper. So you avoid this. It's easier if you have a pencil in your hand, just to look through the lines now, right? But I guess to each his own, right? Okay, so this is more talking about the factory, like what's happening, right? The textiles are run through the machine to untwist and smooth them out. Finally, the textiles are run through chambers in the dyeing area. There's not really too much of things that tells me anything there, right? Okay, most of the machinery is automated, but workers have to change machine setting for each textile order to fit the individual requirement. The workers closely monitor the machine throughout the process. Still nothing there for me. Okay, so let's see. Following a serious accident 6 months ago involving a worker on the factory floor, the owner has made a considerable effort to improve health and safety at Northern Mill. They have made it clear to factory workers that they want to achieve zero lost time accidents going forward. Does that satisfy anything we have? Yeah, that does. But I'll have to go down. Watch. I'll have to go because remember you all, okay, like that was number 6, right? The first thing, the revised general policy statement for Northern Mill reads as follows. To the best of our ability, we commit to preventing accidents, near misses, injury, and ill health. The question was, to what extent has the policy been implemented over the past 6 months? So this is after the accident, right? If you just read that, right? After the accident. So this is the 6 months after the accident. Following the accident, 6 months ago, right? The owner has made a, so the question is asking based on the last 6 months. So which is what's happened here. The owner has made a considerable effort to improve the general health and safety at Northern Mill. They have made it clear to factory workers that they want to achieve zero lost time accidents going forward. So could you tell me what the answer would have been? Do you agree or do you not agree that, what I mean, like, do you agree with this statement? Do you agree that that statement is being fulfilled? The first one there, to achieve, what do you all think? To prevent accident, near misses. What would you all have said? Do you agree that they are fulfilling that statement? Or you're lost still? If you're lost still, it means you lost track of the question. So that's what I was trying to tell you. You have to print your paper. You have to comment on if this is being fulfilled. So is it being fulfilled? To what extent has the policy been implemented over the past 6 months? Prevent accidents, near misses, injury, and ill health. What do you see?
They're getting there. They haven't really fulfilled because they had an accident. So
Yeah, but
it's
was
still
6,
in the
okay, but
process.
yeah, but just, yeah, so they pass it, but still asking to judge it over the last 6 months. So what has happened like 6 months ago, but then they have a commitment now for the 6 months after the accident, and so the past 6 months. So yeah, they had an accident, but so like, are you all getting the point what they're trying to make? They had an accident, but the thing is, the manager here say that they want to reduce it, they want to reduce to 0. So you all agree with me?
So for me, it's like it's a statement of intent to the first part of the question. I
Yeah.
think that might be one of the points where you would have to find others to prove that they're actually trying to adhere to
I
that
think
zero.
knowing Nibosh, Derek, knowing Nibosh, look how the paragraph and them must be short. I was telling you all in English, when you all did English, English had longer case studies than these. I don't think there'll be anything else. One of my rule, yeah, so I agree with you, right? But one of my rules though, right, is like, you might not agree to this in life, but it's like if you're fishing and you catch a fish, but it's a small fish, but because you're fishing now, don't throw it back as yet, right? So like if you get a line, because I know this is not 10 pages of case studies, it's just two little pages. I don't feel you'll have nothing else on this. I feel we could use this. I know I do have nothing else because I know Nibosh. I know it have nothing here else about this again. So I would say, in my opinion, I believe that the policy statement of preventing accidents is being effectively implemented since the accident. Full stop. And then I said, this is seen in the case study where it was mentioned. You see this scroll up thing I'm telling you about how confusing it is? This is seen in the case study where it was mentioned that who is this again? The manager. Oh, the owner. This is seen in the case study where the owner made it clear to factory workers that they want to achieve zero lost time accidents going forward. Full stop. And that's my answer right there. That's one finish. Right? I wish it had more lines. So one of the things with Nibosh is that these things are so damn meager. You have to find it. Yeah, like when you find it, like I tell you about that small size fish, don't ignore it. What you get is what you get. What you get is what you get, right? And you just have to use it. Let's go again and see if we can find another one. I saw somebody trying to come in, but that person is in this class. Actually, I heard of another class. I don't know if you want to read and see if you could find one.
My battery is going to die. I'm from the UK.
Keegan, yes, Keegan. Yeah, okay, good. I'll put your present. What time is it across
All
there
right.
now? What time is it now, Keegan?
7:22.
7:22. Okay, good. Have a good night. Have a good night, dear Keegan.
All right.
Okay, bye. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put your present. Yeah. All right, let me see if I can find another one here for you. We have 8 minutes again. But the thing is, you see, keeping this in mind is what is important. As I tell you, like a printer is really important for this exam because otherwise it'll be up and down, scrolling up, scrolling down. Like you take a picture like this, I guess, right? Let's go again. The owner hired an external health and safety consultant to carry out an audit of health and safety at the factory. Following the audit, the owner has worked hard to apply the recommended improvements. So maybe Derek, that could help you there too. Yeah. Some actions carried out were revising the health and safety policy. Let me see what they say here. I'm watching back the statement of intent, right? You know, I could have used that. I could have used the fact that he hired somebody. You know where? Anybody can tell me where? Watch back these statements and tell me where you could use that. Which one you could use that in? I mean, the owner could ignore the accident too, but this owner looked like he good. This owner trying his best. This owner, committing to zero accidents. Which one you think here could have been useful for what we just read here? That he hired an external consultant. Spending money. Let me give you a clue. He's spending money. Which one?
Well,
Say it again. It kind of come out a bit broken up.
The provisions of resources required to
Very good.
make the
Excellent.
policy arrangement effective.
Excellent. Yes. My good student from Guyana, Sparkle, right? Right, yes, I would use it. I would say it, in my opinion, the statement of intent that spoke about the provision of resources required to make this policy and arrangement effective is being effectively implemented. And then I'll say this is seen where the owner hired, because you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to hire somebody like me. Consultants are not cheap, right? So you can say this is seen where the owner hired an external health and safety consultant to carry out an audit, and you could even say this is where it was said the owner has worked hard to apply the recommended improvements. Folks, if you do what I tell you to do, you cannot fail me, Boshana. You cannot fail, right? I'll have to stop there for today because I have another class again, right? Like I said, it's just based on my time that I'm not sure if I could send you this tonight or Monday morning, because Sunday tomorrow is classes as well. Right? Then I do tend to go walking, those of us who know a bit, right? So I won't spend all my days sitting on all my hours sitting there, right? So perhaps Monday would be the day to send you this question anyway. Let me just get the rule. I actually pulled the wrong rule. I was actually process safety that I kept there. All right, we are officially finished. Let me stop the recording. And what I wanted to kind of keep in your mind, hopefully some mental things came through today, because teaching is not just about teaching, right? It's about